Alright guys, I'm back, and here's another YouTube video from Tyler. So I'm just going to do a little bit of talking about my reef. The sun's setting on it right now, and so I hear a lot of discussions all the time that if stores, and I've worked for quite a few marine aquarium stores, a few freshwater and saltwater, but I like to mostly stick with saltwater only aquariums and do a lot of custom building and plumbing for aquariums and stuff. So I hear a lot of discussions of people that are freshwater that would love to go saltwater, but they're always too scared that it's going to be too difficult. And the thing is with saltwater is all it really takes is the commitment. You're just going to have to make a commitment to the tank and the animals that you're caring for within the tank, that you're going to keep a good water quality and make sure that it's all stable. And consistency is everything. So with freshwater, it's a little bit more lenient in some ways. It really depends on what you have. Some freshwater aquariums can be very difficult depending on what type of fish you have in there and live plants, if you're running live plants. So this hobby can be basically as difficult as you want to make it. I mean, you can buy the expensive and rare and extremely difficult fish, and you can, if you have good luck with it, and you're confident in what you do, and you have the time and the resources to put into your aquarium, then have at it, and have success and do your thing. Whatever makes you happy. But if you're just starting off, I recommend a few different things. If you want to go the reef route, which is all this, with all the live corals and inverts. I have a little conch right here. He's kind of behind the algae. And you have all kinds of different things. You can have, there's certain fish that you can keep in a fish-only system that aren't reef safe, and non-reef safe meaning that it'll eat your invertebrates like your hermit crabs and your cleanup crews, and sometimes even your corals. And then there's reef-safe fish, which are fish that won't eat your corals or harm your invertebrates. And then there's also helpers that'll help your aquarium stay cleaner, possibly, like the tang. He's an algae eater. He won't keep it pristine, but he'll definitely help a little bit with keeping the rocks a little bit cleaner. And there's also fish that are like wrasses. Some of them will eat parasites or bristle worms and help keep your corals a little bit better. But anyways, so the only thing between freshwater and saltwater is obviously a lot different. And if you're afraid to make the jump, you just got to find either somebody that's willing to help you, or ask questions. Anybody that's in the hobby, all of us, from what I know, are a pretty good community, and we're all willing to help each other out. We've all been there, and it's not too hard of a jump. You just, like I said, you just have to stay on top of your water changes. What I recommend for me, what I do on my tank, is I do about a 25% water change once a week. Honestly, the weekly water changes are, in my preference, the best. That's what I've had the most success with. And you can do all the reading online and YouTube videos and everything you want, but honestly, the best way to figure this out is just to go in there, do a little bit of research, and see what happens. Because everything you're going to read online is all a matter of opinion. Everything's going to be somebody else's opinion, or what somebody else did and what worked for them. So something that you might read online might have worked for them really well, but might not work for you. And you know what? That's okay. Not everything everybody else does will necessarily work for you, so keep that in mind and stay open-minded. Obviously saying not doing water changes ever is the best way to go. In my opinion, I believe that tanks need water changes consistently, and that helps maintain a stable, balanced system. And you have to think of the difference with the ocean is, if you rush into this, which a lot of people get impatient, I think that's the number one thing that really harms people in this hobby, is the fact that you have to have a lot of patience for this hobby. You can't just go rushing in everything. If you take this system and you fill it up with salt water, throw a bunch of rock in there, a bunch of fish, you're going to have a lot of problems. There's quite a process to this. The ocean's a very, very big body of water. So nothing changes drastically in the ocean. So you have to keep this in mind. You have to do everything slowly with this hobby. So everything you do with these fish, you have to do very slow, and make everything as less drastic as possible environment-wise. You have to kind of act like this guy. You have to move slow. So when it comes to cycling your tank, give it a month or two and let it really balance out. And then if you do add a fish, add somebody stable, like, you know, maybe a chromis. I personally don't like to add damsels into my system because usually I don't like damsels in my system. They're just a very aggressive fish, and they beat up on your more expensive fish or more delicate fish, like this guy right here. You get beat up by a damsel, and he's really delicate. He's really awesome. That guy's a blue line pipefish. And then, so I personally like to start with something like a clownfish. They're in the damsel family. They're very sturdy. They're very sturdy fish, and they're a little bit more peaceful. So when it comes to going back to saltwater, again, sorry I keep getting off topic. Like I said, don't be afraid to make the jump. Do your research and take things slowly. You have to treat it as if a big body of water. You have to make things happen gradually. You want to get your live sand in there, and you want to get, some people prefer dried rock and to get their own rock and getting it cycling. I personally go with live rock. You're going to hear a lot of debate on that, and that's the thing with this hobby too. There's a lot of debates on things. So you see which you want, you read about it, and see which one you prefer. You're going to hear a lot of back and forth between all different sides of things in this hobby. I mean, there's so much to learn with it. So we really aren't 100% sure on everything. So, you know, you just have to go learn and see what works for you. And like I said, everything you read online is going to be something that, an opinion of somebody else, something that worked for them. And like I said, it may not work for you. So you read about other people's stories and their opinions and what worked for them. And, you know, you start making a collage of all these opinions and different things that have worked for different people. And you kind of make your own little collage. And, you know, you have your own story with these. Each one of these tanks is an adventure. I've never had one tank turn out the same. So, you know, you just have to be willing to go on this adventure with this aquarium. I mean, you took the jump with freshwater. I mean, you go from a goldfish to a full planted tank. I mean, if you can run a planted tank, you can run a soft coral tank, which is going to be all these guys. They're still colorful and beautiful. And, I mean, you can have an amazing, you have an amazing tank that's all LPS or softies, which are, LPS is a coral that has a long polyp. See, like this guy, he's an LPS. See, these guys, you can't really see their polyps. They're so small. They almost look like they're fuzzy. Those are SPS. And then softies are basically like these mushrooms right here. They don't have a skeleton. So it's a little bit confusing at first. But once you get in the hobby and you start seeing all these different corals and learning about them, you'll start to see the differences. So with low lights, you're going to have the smaller corals. And basically, when it comes to lighting, the difference between the bright lights and the dark lights, you'll see a lot of blue aquariums or darker blue aquariums, and what that's representing is the lights are darker and deeper depth of blues, because if you get deeper in the oceans, that's where you're going to find these guys, and there's going to be less light, and it's going to be a little bit darker blue, kind of, you know, because the lights doesn't have as much penetration, so it's going to be darker down there. And then you're going to see the really bright lights for the clams and all these guys. And basically what that is, you know, they're closer to the surface of the water, so they're going to have a lot brighter light. So that's what you're going to be seeing at aquarium stores, where you're going to see darker tanks and lighter tanks. So that's just kind of a rough over on aquariums. I mean, if you guys have any questions or want to see another video or have questions for me and want me to make a video on it, let me know. Post it in the comments below, and I'll see what I can do to help you guys out. I'll be usually making videos on the weekends. I might be able to make some in the morning sometimes. So, well, anyways, if you guys have any questions, like I said, please post them in the comments below, and we'll catch you guys then. Have a great night.